Yeah, thanks very much, Tamsin. So just to give you a little map of what we're going to do in this session, I'm going to do a little intro about the conference, and then I'm going to introduce you to our host, Spencer Stober, who's going to talk a little bit about the themes of this particular year. And then what we'll do is we'll get each of you to introduce yourselves, a little bit about who you are, where you come from, and the work that you do. So just my introduction first. Look, thanks for being here. Just to give you a little sense of, we have 66 people registered at the conference, which is a nice group, who have produced 88 pieces of digital media, which is wonderful. We've all pivoted over the last year or two towards these kind of virtual environments. As Tamsin said, we're hoping that by next year we'll be able to get back to being in person as well. So one of the legacies of COVID going forward is we're going to have blended conferences where we encourage the people who are attending in person to upload digital media, a recording of their session or a PowerPoint or whatever. And then those who can't attend can access that, and we can build a genuinely blended conference. So we put a lot of work into in the last couple of years into building this platform. It's our own platform that we built ourselves. So that's we're rather pleased with that and rather proud of it. And it seems to be something where every time we use it, it gets slightly better. If people have used it before, they'll probably see incremental improvements happening all the time. So this is what we've had to do with COVID. Just a little bit of a background about the conference. Yes, it's been run 22 times. And in fact, at first it wasn't run every year. And the very first time we ran a version of this conference was the University of Technology, Sydney, believe it or not, in 1993, half a lifetime ago. So it's been around for a while. And one of the things that we do is that we're very keen on building formal peer-reviewed knowledge out of all the presentations. So you folks with your login can get access to the many hundreds, thousands of papers that we've produced over the years in this conference, a remarkable body of work. And the idea of the conference is really about the culture of organizations and organizations in their social context. And that's been the idea all along, and it's evolved over the years. And I'd very much like to welcome Spencer Stober now, who will talk specifically about the particular themes of the conference this year. So over to you, Spencer. I'd like to introduce yourself a little bit about the work you do and where you are, and then a little bit about this conference.
Thank you, Bill. First of all, I'd like to say welcome to all of you, and we'll get a chance to sort of introduce ourselves in just a few minutes. But my name is Spencer Stober. I am a professor of biology and leadership studies, which is an unusual combination at Alvernia University in Reading, Pennsylvania. We're about 60 miles north of Philadelphia. I've been involved with Common Ground for a long time, though, not in this particular conference, the organizational studies, but I started in the sustainability network back about 15 years ago. And most of my scholarly work has been in the area of nature-centered leadership and how we as biologists and citizens can work to achieve a more sustainable future. And I came on board here about a year ago, and I'm pleased to be here. And I want to emphasize something about Common Ground, which I think is really important, because I'm going to talk a bit about the theme, but I think it's really important to mention that, pardon me, I have a residual cold and I am negative. I know that's something we have to say now, but we're remote, so it doesn't matter. But it is a very interdisciplinary platform. And if you explore their network, you'll see there's more than 20 networks. And I've been to many of the different ones, and the CG Scholar platform spans that. And the reason I think interdisciplinary research is so important is because the wicked problems that we're confronted with, we're part of those problems, and to solve them, we have to reach across disciplinary boundaries. So when I talk about the theme briefly here, what we can learn from nature, basically, keep in mind that some of your talks may not be specifically on that, but that's fine, because we have to get into each other's domain in order to learn to understand from each other how we can apply problems to sustainability, which is a really broad a broad topic. And I think one way to sort of frame the theme is to say that we're going to start out with one plenary speaker, Dr. Allen. And she will be, I'm going to introduce her tomorrow, of course, but she's going to talk to us about what we can learn about organizations by looking at nature. Because if you think about it, we as biologists have been studying natural systems for a long time. And those natural systems would exist whether we are here or not. We just try and uncover how those systems function. But as a social scientist, which is where I've been most of the last half of my career, advising doctoral students on their dissertations in social sciences, we are the system. We're studying a system that we're part of, and it's emerging, and this makes it particularly difficult to study it. So I believe that as a biologist, it's useful to take a look at natural systems and sort of get an idea how they function. And I'm not saying they're totally analogous. I'm thinking more of it in terms of just a way to understand how systems work, because nature's pretty resilient. We may not think so because of what we're doing right now with climate change and our impact on the environment, but nature will survive in spite of us. Social systems might not. So our job in organizational studies is to try and understand our systems and see how they go and how we can perhaps keep our social systems resilient, the topic of next year's conference. Now, Kathleen Allen will help us, will show us some lessons. I've heard her speak many times. And then the next plenary, I'll briefly jump in and talk a little bit about the concept of mimetics. And I'll define it, but I'll take a very specific look at it. And I'll look at it in terms of the mean gene analogy and organizations. And then to conclude, we'll have the final plenary the next day, and I think it's Saturday, will be Jim Seibert, and he'll talk about what some of the signifiers are of mimetics or mimetic behavior in organizations. So by the time you leave, you'll have sort of a sense about mimetics if you already don't have that. I saw there are some papers related to the topic. But keep that in mind, this is a big tent. Organizations are a wide, diverse area to study. So I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you, whatever your theme and interest is. So I think that's a good segue. I do want to thank, before I transition to, I guess Tamsin's going to do the identifying who's going to get a chance to introduce themselves, but I would like to say thank you to the Common Ground team, everyone, for all of you've done to make this possible, and also to the emerging scholars, and also to all the participants for being here. It's rough being on totally virtual, and we're going through the same thing in our classrooms as well. So hopefully this will change, and we'll be back to in-person conferences in the future. So thank you, everyone.
No, thank you very much, Spencer, and thanks for taking the lead with this particular conference as well. And as Spencer says, these are very cross-disciplinary. And one of the things that I recommend in that spirit is, look through the program and go to some things that you wouldn't normally go to. What happens is a lot of conferences are highly specialized, and you go to the sessions which work close to what you're doing because you need to be understanding what's in the field. So that's one thing. Cast the net wide as you look through the sessions, the asynchronous sessions, that is, that have their media uploads. But also one special request is never leave a session without leaving a comment. One of the advantages of the online format is that everybody can speak. Normally in a conference there's a bit of time at the end, and it's a bit of a hurry for one or two people to say something. But certainly the people who've developed the work and made the presentations would really appreciate your comments. And there's plenty of space to do that, and everybody can comment. So please do that. That's very important. And just a little note to you, by the way, is that even though it's sort of somewhat asynchronous, you'll be doing this over the next little while, that it's still, it triggers an email to the people who are involved in the presentation. So, they'll know that you've been there and said something, and hopefully they might be able to respond as well. So that's another thing, if you're a presenter and you get a comment, keep talking, keep responding to people. This opens the possibility of dialogue in new ways as well as kind of somewhat old ways. So please do that. So what I'd like to do is just go around the room now and ask each of you to say a little bit about yourself and what your interests are, where you come from, the work that you do. And while you do that, Tamsin is going to find the link to a presentation, if you are presenting, that is, and she'll put it in the chat. So I am going to just, and by the way, if you can't speak for whatever reason, you're in a noisy room or your microphone's not working, you can say something in the chat or just wave or something. But I'll go around the tiles and I'll get each of the people who are there to say something. And in my first tile, I have Angelica Letty. How are you, Angelica? Or maybe that is, the names I have are the names on the people's computers, possibly. Yeah.
So I am I just started at Common Ground. I'm the digital content producer, and this is actually my first conference, so I'm excited. That's it.
Okay, great, wonderful, great to see you, Angelica. And Kinsey next. We'll do the Common Ground people first. You'd like to do a little introduction to yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Kinsey. I am the conference assistant for this conference. I've been assisting the conference producer, Elizabeth, who unfortunately could not make it to this session. And I have been contacting with the emerging scholars. I have seen some of them in the session so far. And I'm just very excited for this conference.
Okay, thank you. And while we're on the Common Ground folks as well, Irem, and these are the people who keep there's a lot of wheels turning in the background to keep everything moving. So Irem, you're part of the team as well. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Irem and I am working as a conference and communication assistant with Common Ground Research Networks. We're so excited to have you here with us for this conference.
Okay, wonderful. Now, next I'm going to go to Bart. How are you, Bart?
Thanks. Thanks, Bill. I'm fine. I hope so. I'm in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. So it's 7 p.m. here, so 7 in the evening. So I have the kids to that side watching movies right now. So I hope it's not disturbing any of my my talking to you. So then, well, I'm an entrepreneur, so I run a knowledge management company. I have a background in natural science, and I studied organic chemistry in university. And I also graduated in a master in organizational studies. So I really liked in the conference setup, more or less maybe not combination, but having these two broader fields sort of intertwining and trying to learn and inspire each other. That's what I liked on the conference. I'm not a scholar or, in that sense, scientific researcher myself. I do give quite a lot of lectures, guest lectures in a couple of universities. And I'm really interested to learn and interact. And I mean, if it's either in these kind of sessions together or in the asynchronous commenting and having, in that sense, chats with each other. So really looking forward to it. It was the first time in the microsite, so I had a little struggle with getting all my content in, but I did also make a recording just earlier today, which I will be trying to connect or link somewhere in the discussion on my talk, but that will be all right. So really looking forward to the different interactions, well, with you and with all of the other participants.
Fantastic. And look, it's great to have a mixture of people from different, bringing different perspectives, particularly in this conference, bringing, industry training, practical hands-on work as well. So that kind of dialogue is very, very important. So it's great to have you here. And I see that your sessions already had 31 engagements, which is pretty impressive. We're just getting off and starting. So put your video in and we'll keep talking. Okay, that's great. And the next one I have across my Zoom tiles is Fatma. How are you, Fatma?
Hi, great to be here. I live in France. I'm research engineer in the Catholic University of Lille, particularly in a design school, which is called Hemisphere Design School. My domain is basically management of creativity and innovation, but I'm quite multidisciplinary, meaning that I have a PhD degree in marketing. And after my PhD, I got some higher research diplomas and executive MBA in the management of creativity and innovation. At the same time, I'm a lecturer. I teach since 2008. I teach marketing, management, new types of managers. And what I'm interested in my research and teaching is particularly workplaces. What is the importance of place to connect people, to make them work together, to make them share an ambience, a passion, a dream, a life, because when we pass like more than half of our days in a place, it's kind of like our second house, or our best colleagues are like kind of our mates, our husbands, or our wives. So what is the importance of the place in all these? And for the conference, I did choose a study of mine, very mini study with my students about leadership. What is the importance of training students in leadership, actually to have more efficient, more empathic leaders in the workplaces later.
Right.
And I am from Turkey. Originally, I'm from Turkey.
Okay, these are all tremendously important issues and absolutely spot on in terms of the breadth of things we're looking to be talking about and thinking about in the conference. So thank you very much for being here, Fatma. Beth, you're my next person, Beth Sears. Oh, I can't hear your audio, Beth. Now it looks like that's it.
Yes.
Let's try now.
I said good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. It's a pleasure. I was kind of surprised when I got the invitation. As I'm hearing it, it seems you are all presenters. I have presented twice at the conference on the International Conference on Knowledge, Culture, and Change previously, but my work is actually in that field. My area of expertise is culture and communication, and helping leaders to align their people with the vision of where they want to take their organization. And as you were speaking, when you opened up about the connection to nature, I mean, organizations are living systems that are affected by things that happen all the time. And it really is helpful to be prepared, just like the pandemic. You know, you've seen some organizations that really struggled and some that have raised the bar. So I actually spent 30 years at General Motors and then went on to finish a PhD in communication. But I tell everyone I got my real education 30 years at General Motors. So I thank you. I'm going to have to go because I have a coaching call, but I will listen to the recording. Take care.
Yeah,
Be
wonderful,
safe.
and welcome back. It's great to have
Thank you.
back at the conference. Okay.
It was great, and I'd be glad to present in the future.
Okay, that's wonderful. Okay, the next one that we have is Tim Wyman Mccarthy.
Hi, so I'm zooming in from Oakland, California, where it is about 10:30 a.m. And I am a fifth-year PhD candidate in the Department of Rhetoric, which, if you're not sure what that is, neither do my parents or anyone else who I speak to, but it's basically a humanities, social sciences, interdisciplinary department. And a lot of scholars in the department work in the tradition of critical theory. And my research generally is tracking the kind of shifting rhetoric of progressive third sector organizations in the United States, Canada, and UK, specifically the rise of the language of social movements. So I'm very interested to hear what everyone else has to say about, coming from quite different perspectives. I'm from an interdisciplinary milieu over here, so this feels kind of both at home as well as being surprising and different. So I'm excited to see what happens.
No, great, and for organisations generally, those discourses are incredibly important, to be quite frank. And if often organisations are kind of things which are operate in a way as if the world doesn't exist, or in a self-interested kind of way. So thinking in this socially expansive way in general terms is obviously really important. So thank you very much for being here and for that presentation. So now the next person that I have is Melinda Campoverde. Melinda, are you there? You might have just come on. Doing quick introductions for everybody. We can't hear you. No problems. You can come back in or put something in the chat, and maybe you might find Melinda's session anyhow, Tamsin, along the way. One thing I did mention before is that I'm going to put a link in the chat now to the bookstore. So what happens is this link gives you access to all the this body of knowledge that we've been building up. So this is very much about, often with conferences, these are ephemeral, people leave and all they end up, I've got some notes and a business card. What we do in having the journal connected is try to build a systematic body of knowledge. And if you take that link there, you'll see that in fact, we've published over 2,000 articles and books in this particular area, including 13 books. So if you take that link there, we've got quite good advanced search if you want to find stuff in a filtered down kind of way. It's a lot of material. But one thing we do ask is use that material. One of the ways in which you can honour the work of colleagues in academia is to read their work and then to cite it. If you get something from it and it's useful. So one of the things we ask people pretty strongly in this community is, please use this body of work. You've got access to the whole lot. As I say, if you use the advanced search, there's quite good search mechanisms in there, so you can find stuff in a relatively filtered way. And that will really help you, but then please cite it. It's about acknowledging each other's contribution to each other's thinking. The other thing I should mention as well, if you haven't been involved, is that we do have a peer review process after this, and it's very much a community publishing exercise where the people who are part of the community are reviewing each other's work, giving each other feedback, and we really focus on stuff which is not crudely judgmental, but stuff which is constructive. So saying, wow, this is great, or goodness me, this is terrible, is not useful. We're really focused on you giving feedback which will help people in their revisions. Even a great paper, you can give them useful feedback. And with papers which need more work, if you can constructively suggest exactly what people could do, that's a very helpful thing. So we want to try and build a constructive knowledge community where we all, we work with each other. And as I say, over the last however many years, this is what we've managed to achieve, this remarkable body of work. Folks, does anybody have any questions? Anything that's left unsaid that needs to be said, particularly Spencer, Tamsin?
I do have something I'd like to add, as I was particularly following up on what Bill was just talking about, the knowledge community. And as I was listening to what all of you are doing and where you're coming from, I think another piece that's really important, in addition to the interdisciplinary or cross-disciplinary study, is that it's not just about academics. We academics sometimes get stuck in this silo, and I think the professional piece, that's why I always enjoy the conference, because we have a wide range of professionals, policymakers, engineers, architects, and etc., working and mixing together. Now, why I think that's important is this, because knowledge for its own sake is one thing, but how we humans apply it is another thing. And along the way, we as humans have made a couple mistakes, one of them being the burning of fossil fuels, which is a progress trap. I did not coin that term. I think the term was coined by an O'Leary and made famous by a guy by the name of Robert Wright, I think. But that term, progress trap, is a good example, because we saw the benefit, but we didn't realize and see the unintended consequences. And I think that that's one of the things that when you bring persons from different disciplines together, from different professions together, we're more likely to see those unintended consequences. Now, whether we can do something about it, that's another question. But that's something I'd just like to add to the whole mixture of thought.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, they're really important points. And one of the this special thing today about nature, there are a number of layers. One is that there's no entity, organization, social activity which doesn't interact with nature, sometimes in ways which are unproductive, problematic, self-destructive. But the second thing is that ecologies become a metaphors, if you like, for not only our interactions with nature, but our interactions with each other. In other words, that we were in systems. It's not just the leaders who command. We operate in systems where there are mutual responsibilities and mutual connections and mutual dependencies as well. So that's there are all those very strong connections there. So thank you very much for that, Spencer, and thank you very much for being a wonderful host and a wonderful supporter of this project over the years as well. So that's hugely appreciated. Tamsin, is there anything of an organisational matter that I've forgotten?
Only two more things that I wanted to mention. The first thing that I am going to put in the chat is the link to the first of two plenary sessions tomorrow. The first one is by Dr. Allen, and the presentation tomorrow is called Mother Nature's Lesson on Change, which Spencer mentioned before. And then following that, we'll have Spencer's plenary session as well, which I'm also going to put in the chat so that everyone can have that link fresh if they need it, but if not, they can access through CG Scholar. And the other thing is that this is called a think and drink welcome reception, so we do need to do a little toast of some sort. If everyone has some type of, mine looks like coffee, but it's actually water. If everyone has some type of liquid near them, and we won't make judgments on what it is, it can be beer, and it can be 10:30 in the morning in Portland. But I think that we should do. Yes, it's evening where you are, correct? So you could have some wine or something. We won't judge.
Okay,
but I think we should. 1 second. Okay, we'll give you 1 second. Run and get something. So we need to, as well as our thinking and introducing each other, we should have a little drink and do a little toast. We'll wait for Fatma, who's run off to get her drink, I think. Hopefully,
I expect it to be wine.
It better be something good. Knowing she's the only one who's probably in the socially acceptable time zone to have wine.
I am too. I'm in the same time zone in Europe as well. So that's,
okay. So that's perfectly fine. So if with that, I'd just like to welcome you all to the conference and hope that we have a great couple of days, and cheers.
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 Bye, folks. Have a wonderful conference.
And my email's in the chat. If anyone needs to contact me, feel free.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Thanks.